Right, Alan, I think probably we'll start and then hopefully other people will come in. So for those of you who don't know him, this is Alan Woods. He's another one of the practice growth experts, and he also has his own accountancy practice. I'm sure he'll tell you all about that. And Alan has agreed to talk today. So I'm actually going to disappear and let him have the limelight while he shares some ideas that perhaps could help you in the coming months. So over to you, Alan.
Thank you. Thanks, Emma. Yeah, and thanks to everyone for being on the call. I know there's a million and one other things that potentially you could be doing as well, so I appreciate you taking the time to be on the call with me today. What I wanted to try and share really, as Emma said, as well as being a practice growth expert with AVN, also an accountant for my sins. So I do have my own accountancy practice as well. So what I wanted to try and share today, and be great to get some interaction, obviously with a relatively small group at the moment as well. So if you do want to put any questions or put any comments in the chat box, you know, feel free to do that. We can engage as best we can. What I wanted to try and look at really is trying to look at the opportunities that might be there within the upcoming tax season, as opposed to just seeing it as a stress, which it often can be and often is. But I think there can be quite a few opportunities there for just ways to help clients better, ways to potentially generate additional fees, or just generally ways to maybe educate clients to maybe act differently when it comes around to the following tax season, if that's, you know, so if this one is a stressful one, then the next future ones will be less stressful as we move forward. So I suppose first of all, if I can get some interaction in the chat box. In terms of the one people on the call at the moment, what would you say sort of percentage wise? How are you doing with tax returns at the moment? Are you doing well so far, or is it something that perhaps you and clients haven't yet put a focus on? So yeah, any percentages people want to put into the box, that'd be brilliant. And if you can share it with everyone, just so again we can all see where people are up to. Bit of a benchmark as well, bit of accountability that's in there too. Not too sure who's going to be first. Okay, so Stephen's about 25% submitted, so fantastic. I'm not sure if that was maybe helped with the SEISS grants and things that needed submissions early as well than usual, which was great. Yeah, 30% from Giles, brilliant, thank you. Okay, so just as other people filter into the room, or filter into the chat box as well, 40%. Thank you, well done, Chidi. So again, that's why I asked for the percentage as opposed to numbers, so we can get a gauge, because whether you've got 100 clients or 10 clients, sometimes the challenge can be just as great, really, to get that information in there. So fantastic for that. Good to see you, Christy, on the call as well. So what I've just asked, Christy, if you want to put a comment in the chat box. We're looking at tax returns at the moment. So just seeing how you've progressed, really, what percentage of tax returns you might have already submitted or done at this stage, just to get a gauge as to where people are up to. What I'm going to be talking about on the call today is just about a few ideas and a few tips of how to turn the stressful tax season into potentially opportunities just to help clients a bit better or differently, and identify areas to where maybe additional fees might be available, or helping to streamline the process for next year. So yeah, 33% for Christy, fantastic, brilliant. So at least we've all made a start, which is fantastic. For a lot of people have made more than a start, so really good progress there to get through the tax return season ahead. What I wanted to try and really do today is just just try and highlight some of the systems that are available within the resources that you've got within AVN, and also just maybe talk around how those systems might be able to be used to maximise the effect and the benefit that might have for clients and for yourselves as well. So the first thing that I did when I was preparing for this, I'm just going to share my screen just for a second. So yeah, so the first thing that I did when I was looking for this was actually I looked into the knowledge base. So hopefully you can see that on the screen at the moment. And I just typed in tax into the search bar into the knowledge base. So as you can see there, the results that I found on there, 115 results, 115 resources, documents, ideas, just within the knowledge base that are there, that just come up when you type in the word tax. And there's a few things that I've sort of highlighted on that as to things that I think are maybe things to, if you don't already use, maybe look to use as a resource moving forwards. First one of those is the income tax tax return system. So step-by-step process for you to look at to help to streamline that tax return process within your practice. If you haven't been using this yet, if you're a newer member or you just haven't got into using this, you've got your own system perhaps, but just take a look at this and see if this is something you could tweak and incorporate into the process that you've already got within your business. This has deadlines. It's got suggested letters that obviously you can edit, and send out to them either electronically or via post, or put them onto your portal. What checklists, what information you might want to share with them. What happens if it's only partly been received? So there's a separate process then to actually chase information through. Reminder letters. So all of the things that you might need to think about are built into that. And it might be that actually maybe you haven't started to do this yet, you haven't sent out something, or you want to send out the reminders. It might be a case of jumping down to the stage here and start looking at this and seeing whether this is something you could use to be able to send out to clients in the format of those reminders, so as you can gather the information a little bit more quickly. And as I said, in terms of for thinking of planning ahead for next year, this is certainly something that I would suggest that if you haven't got one of these systems in place, if you don't use the AVN one, make sure you revisit this and make sure you got this or something similar in place for next year, so that the next tax return season is as efficient, stress-free and productive as possible. But yeah, as you know, with the way this works, all of the ones link through to individual checklists. One of them there is the tax return information checklist. So again, often you might request information from the clients, but it's what information do they need? So there's a checklist within the system that you can use as to say what information you might want and whether they've included it with a tick. So P60s, P11Ds, rental income, etc. Obviously, you can tailor that if you want to. You can also use your own tax compliance software, because I know a lot of those will have an ability to print off the report from last year with gaps in effect for what information you might need for this year. So a combination of those two things might be useful, but certainly from our point of view as a practice, we would certainly be sending out the checklist and using the income tax return system for the process for us to be able to request that information in from clients. The other thing as well, which I think in terms of what information might be beneficial or what information might be useful, looking at it from an opportunity point of view, rather than just sending them a tax return that is just kind of open-ended, I suppose. There are some tips that you can send through to them, so you can put them then into the covering letter, and that might be tax tips that you'll take through from things that you've identified that maybe they're not using. Great source of those tax tips are Taxability. So again, you may or may not have seen those ones, but again, got that open here. So Taxability is a really great resource that again is built into System Builder, resource for all the AVN accountants to be able to use and have access to. And it really just gives, obviously this is the instructions for it, it really gives you an idea as to how to where you can get the tips from those clients. There's a couple of ways you can use this, especially the clients that I speak to with regards to from an AVN point of view. A lot of these posts are fantastic, just questions or conversation starters for social media. So straight away you could filter it by whether it be a business question or whether it be a personal tax questions. You can find out which questions might be relevant, use them, as I say, as posts on LinkedIn, or it might be from a review when you're sending the client the tax return. It might be to say, I've noticed that this is the case. These are the questions that you might want to consider for future tax planning. And would you like to have a meeting, or would you like to arrange a call to be able to go through the checklist in more detail? So there is a personalised one with 20 questions on there. So again, it's looking at things, asking questions, yes, no, not applicable. So again, you can either take an excerpt of this, I suppose, and include it on a covering letter, covering email, or use the whole checklist to send that through to your clients. Great way to send this through before the end of the tax year. So again, if you haven't used this for this tax year, it might be that once January's ended, you could send this out to clients in sort of January time, early February, and try and give them an opportunity to take some tax savings or take some tax benefits for them and their business. So what I would suggest you do with this, build it into the income tax return system for the 22-23 tax year, and the 21-22 tax year. But for this year, if you've already started to do your tax returns, which most of you have, it would be a case of highlighting certain comments or certain points that would be potentially of value that you can send through to the client, so that you're adding more value than just what their tax liability is likely to be. The other one, I think, which is a really useful opportunity or value add that you can potentially build into your tax return process for this build up now to the end of January, is the personal balance sheet. So again, many of you may have completed this for yourselves, and certainly if you haven't, I'd certainly encourage you to look to do that. So if you haven't done this for yourself, then certainly look at doing the personal balance sheet for you. But again, this is a really great opportunity really to offer this as an additional service to your clients. Likelihood is when you're going through their tax return, you may get some of this information. You may be aware of if they've got rental property, what value their assets are, if they've got any mortgages attached to those, but you may not have all the information on here. So this is a great way of offering this to clients, so that they can provide you with the information, so that you can then provide them with an assessment of what their value is, what asset base that they have, and ultimately from an IHT point of view, is there going to be an IHT issue, or is there an IHT consequence for them if they were not to take any action? So from an opportunity point of view for you, you're adding a huge amount of value for them to appreciate where their asset base is, what sort of assets they do or don't have, which liabilities they do or don't have, and even that in itself can sometimes be a sort of an eye-opener for them when they see this page that shows them what their particular net worth is. They may not fully appreciate the consequences or the impact of things that they've done in the past. The fact that they've got mortgages or loans or credit cards or anything else, they may not fully appreciate what that looks like then when you actually look at doing an asset and liability sort of statement. Obviously allows you to do this for clients and spouses or partners, and effectively then combines that together as well. And as I say, we'll then provide either the IHT calculations as a couple or partnership, or if it's a single individual. So I think really valuable information and process that you can go through with a client is send them their tax return, identify that there may be some areas that they might want to look at, ask them those questions on a taxability questionnaire, which may include certain questions that you understand to be relevant based on the tax information that you received, but looking and offering them and seeing, are they aware what their personal wealth is? Are they aware then that they've got the right levels of life insurance in place or critical illness in place, based on what their net asset position is? And then that then leads on to, from an IHT point of view, is there an IHT issue or potential issue for that particular client. And again, that becomes then a service that you could either offer to them if that's something you want to be offering to them directly, or partnering with someone if that's perhaps an area that you're not focusing in, but certainly would give you an opportunity to provide a huge amount of value to the client, and generate some income potentially for the practice and for the business, and if not, certainly a lot of goodwill from identifying that too. The other area as well, from an IHT point of view, that I think could be really beneficial, is that just by looking at IHT in a bit more detail, and again, there's a system for that within the knowledge base to do a health check for IHT. But I think as well, from an inheritance tax point of view, there are other areas, things like potential introductions that you can then make to financial advisors. You might want to introduce them to will writers if you've got any relationships there. So again, you're providing opportunities for your professional connections. So it may not necessarily directly lead to extra work in the first instance for yourself, but you've identified or highlighted that there's something they need to take action on. You've provided them with a solution that actually, as well as IHT, you might want to look at a review, or put, if you haven't got them, put wills and put powers of attorney in place, but also speaking to a financial advisor, which again will tie back to the information that you've got within the income tax return, as to, do they need to do a pension review? Do they need to look at things like inheritance tax, and maybe looking at ways where they might be able to plan for that, or mitigate that, or certainly reduce that from some elements of tax planning or some financial planning moving forwards. So I think hugely important and hugely valuable information there in terms of the opportunity that IHT as an offering can have them with clients. That, I suppose, links back to some of the areas on here as well. So there's so we've got other things. If they're a sole trader, or if they're a partnership or something like that, you could look at doing a business structure health check. So again, all these things that you'll have the information for. Again, it's just about being proactive and just adding some information and adding some value to them. So we've got a business structure health check here. Again, documents a template within the system builder for you within the knowledge base. Recommended strategies, just for you to import or insert the relevant names and the relevant details that may be relevant for them. So again, not necessarily complicated, if you like, in terms of the time that might be needed to take this, but in terms of the value that's going to be generated for the client, huge amount of value for them to outline to them the opportunities and the areas where they might want to look at doing things a little bit differently. There's also the system on tax efficient remuneration planning. So again, if they're a director client, is there a better way that they could be paid? Is there a way to structure that, in a more tax efficient manner? So again, that might be something else that you want to try and speak to them about. And again, just as an overview for the personal tax planning, which sort of links back to the taxability element of it, really. But it's really about seizing on the opportunity, I think, with tax returns and tax return season, as to what that will present for us moving forward as we speak to pretty much probably every single one of our clients. Whether it be that we're sending them the tax return, or whether it be that we're sending them a reminder of, don't forget, this is how much tax you do need to pay at the end of January. There's a lot of touch points that we've got between now and then, that we can introduce added value to that, as opposed to just being a messaging service and sometimes the bearer of bad news, which I know in the past you often get the blame for at times in some of those instances. But if you can put the spin on that to say, this is the tax bill for January, these are areas that you might want to look at to minimise or reduce ongoing tax liabilities. If you want to have a call or a conversation around it, here's a link to my diary to be able to book a call or book a meeting. So I think those are really, really valuable. Yeah, back to other opportunity that we might have as well as from a tax season point of view is that there will be lots of accountants that perhaps aren't as organised as you might be, and they may be, not yet anywhere near even done, one tax return, never mind 30 or 40%, as the people who'd commented had done so far. So I think one of the things that they may look to do is look at marketing your service to business owners. A couple of reasons why this may happen, I think, is that often business owners, if they've had a tax bill or a tax return off their accountant, and maybe it's bigger than they expected, and there hasn't been any communication to them to that effect. There's been no planning, no opportunities for them to look at ways where they might want to manage that liability, or at least give them some forewarning that this is what's likely to happen. So you may get some people that are just kind of disappointed or kind of frustrated perhaps with that service that they've received. They may be looking to look for different advisors. You've also got the new businesses. May not even realise that they need to do a tax return because either they've not been told, or they've not fully appreciated it, or just they've just been too busy running the business. So those ones, again, maybe people that are still not yet selected an accountant. So again, looking at something from a marketing point of view, whether it be a press release, a LinkedIn post, etc., some post on your website, might be something to take this template press release that's in the knowledge base for AVN, and tailor that for your own practice, and promote that service then to business owners, or that high net worth individuals that may need some help with their tax affairs. So yeah, I think that's something that potentially you can take advantage of if you're in a more systemized, more process led position than perhaps some other advisors might be. Again, it might be your business client profile, maybe not to specifically target tax return only clients, but again, if you can direct this to business owners, to directors, they're often they're not likely to just transfer their tax return information from an existing accountant. It's more likely that you might have an opportunity to speak to them around their whole accountancy and business advisory, business tax services as well. Linking onto that as well, as kind of from a marketing point of view, is that you might want to look at speaking to clients and maybe trying to promote to them any additional services that you may have, different packages you may be able to offer to them. So in terms of from an AVN point of view, there's the 3, 4 and 5 star service packages. So again, this may be something to say to a client. We really believe that based on your circumstances, based on the complexity, or based on the value of your asset base that you've got, we really think that our 5-star service would be perfect for you. New service that we've just launched, and as part of that service you will include, or you'll get, all of these additional extras or benefits from that as a standard. So again, another way to cross refer or cross sell to existing clients, as to providing them with a more suited, more tailored service that for them and their business. There's also tax and profit improvement reports that you can do as well. So again, this would be, there's a short template on here, but this is really just to identify, we've carried out an exercise and we've identified that you could save X a year in tax. So again, this could be something you could send to them as a report. Again, if they're a self-employed person, or if they're a director of a limited company, you could also put in there, based on using simple stuff that works, or some of the other tools within AVN, what potential extra profit as well that they might be able to achieve. And ultimately, the bottom figure there is what they could actually take home, if you like, in their pocket, more than what they're currently taking. So again, I think that's really important thing to look at when you are coming to looking at tax return season, because for me it's all about the opportunities that it can generate for having more valuable conversations with clients rather than just being a process that we go through to tick a box so that they get their tax returns submitted. So those are the main systems and processes within System Builder. Quite a few there that I've highlighted. Let's say there's over 100 when you just search for tax within the knowledge base within AVN. Obviously, it'd be useful to maybe get some input from people on the call. Are there any of those particular systems that you either already use or that you use in a different way? It'd be great to get your thoughts on that. So if anyone wants to either put a comment in the chat box or feel free to unmute yourself and obviously make a comment to us in the room if you want to.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, fire away.
Well, a couple actually. So I guess the first one would be like when we talk about the taxability. I mean, that's really useful. Where you have all of those questions.
Yeah.
Now, in my head, I'm just kind of thinking, what would be the best way to share those questions? Obviously, you can look to. In my head, I'm thinking you look through that list and just think, okay, I can make an assumption that these 1, 2, 3 would be applicable to my client, and I'm going to focus on those.
Yeah.
Or do I just want to share bigger lists, or do I want to have them in a meeting? What would be? How do you approach that?
Yeah, so I suppose it would be a mixture of that. To be honest, I know when you post in the chat box, Chidi, you mentioned that your client numbers may not be big in a sense, but for me, it would be trying to segment down that client list. Whether you've got thousands of clients, whether you've got 10 clients, and just trying to focus on the A grade clients that you've done. So hopefully you've done the client grading on your clients. So A grade clients, I would say you would do that in a meeting. You'd offer them you'd maybe give them a flavour in an email or when you spoke to them on the phone to say, I've been thinking about you. I'd love to run through a tax planning exercise with you. These are the 2 or 3 things in particular that I think might be relevant, but there's another 17 or another 20 things that may be relevant that we could run through during that time. And it's a case then of running through it, because I think the danger of kind of you selecting it for a client is that there may be some of those things that actually you don't know what you don't know. There may be certain things that are more relevant for them, or just might even be relevant for other people they know. So being too selective on the questions can sometimes, I think, go against you. If you're just putting it as a flavour or putting it in a covering email to send them a tax return or just reminder for what tax they need to pay, you could maybe just use 1 or 2 suggestions or 1 or 2 ideas for that. But in general terms, I'd say for A-grade clients, definitely a meeting. Possibly even for the B clients as well. But maybe then for the C and D clients, it might be that you just send them the checklist and either do it as an electronic version, so using something online on the website, hosted somewhere, or obviously as a paper copy, and ask them to complete it, answer it yes, no, not applicable, and return it back to you. So I think that's possibly the approach I'd take on that one, Chidi. So is you kind of tailoring the approach to the client, I think, and certainly the A-grade clients, I definitely would suggest doing it by way of a meeting.
Great. And then that would lead to some of the opportunities which we talked about, things like the personal balance sheet, inheritance tax checklist.
Yeah.
How would you, and I guess from my experience, my example where all my clients are compliance clients at the moment. Okay. So how would you then, how would you price in this scenario like that, where you're saying, okay, someone, obviously you've got to somehow communicate the value of a personal balance sheet to somebody who just pays monthly for just some tax. I guess that's one question. But then also, how would you then price it?
There's a couple of ways there. I think that one of the benefits I think with tax generally is that because you can quantify the saving or quantify the benefits of what they'll get from that, whether it's the benefit from inheritance tax, and you put in place a savings plan for them to reduce their inheritance tax, or whether it's a way that you can put in place a remuneration package that reduces the overall tax that they pay. So you could either do it in two ways, and we've used both of these in the past as well. You could either do it on a fixed fee, and when we did it on a fixed fee, we would do the fixed fee, and effectively with a guarantee that if the tax wasn't at least twice what the fixed fee was, we'd reduce the fixed fee down to half the tax that was saved. So that seemed to work really well. It takes away any of the kind of the worry, if you like, or the kind of concern from the client, because actually, there's nothing for them to lose. It's not really going to cost them anything. If worst case, it's going to cost them half of any benefit that they're going to receive. Best case, it's going to be significantly more than that. The other option of that is a value-based fee, so a percentage based on the tax that the savings that you're going to help them to generate, or a combination of the two. You may have a sort of base fixed fee, if you like, that covers the kind of the work, if you like, that goes into doing the exercise, and then a percentage that's linked to the sort of tax or financial benefit that they may get out of that as well. So I think that's the way that I'd present that to them then, Chidi. And I think maybe for you as well with those compliance clients, it might be that if you look at those 3, 4 and 5-star packages that are in the knowledge base, if they're already used to paying monthly, the conversation might be, well, actually, we can do this every year for you, and rather than paying £20 a month, £40 a month, £100 a month, if you paid £150 a month, then you'd get this taxability review, you'd get an inheritance tax assessment, you get a personal balance sheet exercise refresher or review on an annual basis. So that there's a couple of different ways there to maybe look to approach that from a billing point of view.
That's great. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from anyone else at this stage? I know Christie's mentioned she used the reminder checklist from the software. So is that to remind you to deal with the taxability checklist, Christie? Is that what that was? Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Hi, Viral. You've unmuted yourself. Are you ready to ask a question or not?
No, I would say,
Okay.
you were mentioning about software, like, I mean, all this, yeah, it's a lot of food for thought, a lot of information, and to get clients going. And I think I'll maybe use some of these things in the letters we send out to clients. Those, I mean, they go electronically, but it's, and what I mean, the software we use, it does these what if calculations.
Okay.
So that comes in handy, like,
Yes.
And if I may add, as we are talking about tax, our Prime Minister has just announced 1.25% employers NI.
Okay.
I mean, this is that social care reform. So as we are talking about tax, so
yeah, yeah, okay, hot off the press. Thank you for that. Yeah, no, I think it is. I think tax is one of those subjects that certainly any clients that we've ever dealt with, that they're happy to pay the right, they're happy to pay their fair share, they're happy to pay the right amount of tax, but I don't think anyone necessarily is ever happy if they pay too much. And I think that's the same for anything. If you feel like you've paid too much for anything, and you could have done something that would have minimized or reduced that cost or that obligation, I think that's the key thing, really. And if nothing else, I think a lot of these suggestions, if you like, in terms of making people aware that they should have wills or they should be reviewing their personal balance sheet for inheritance tax perspective, at least if you've notified the client of that, if they choose not to act on that, and something happens that then doesn't quite go to plan for them and causes them potentially then maybe with an issue, at least you've protected yourself, I suppose, from a professional point of view, that actually, yes, we did document that to you, and yes, we did suggest that you needed to have a will or you needed to review your inheritance tax situation. As Viral said, I think if nothing more, putting those points in the covering letter is a definite thing to do. And with taxability, you know, you've got ideas and tips there that if will at least prompt your thought process and give you the phrasing of how maybe you want to put that into a letter or an email. And because of the way that we do with tax returns, the chances are that, you know, it's not just one email that you send them on their tax returns. There will be a number of communications with them when that's to do with the requesting the information in the first place, maybe chasing that information if it hasn't come in, then maybe clarifying some points when it does come in, then sending them the tax return once it's been completed, then reminding them what the tax liability is, and then, you know, again, chasing that if they haven't maybe paid that payment on time. So there's lots of opportunities, lots of touch points along that process that we can certainly look to add value to that process, so that the client doesn't feel like it's just a transactional process. And I think sometimes often tax returns can be like that. They can just be something that needs to be done, but actually they can be a huge driver for identifying opportunities or identifying issues perhaps, or actions that the client needs to consider and needs to think about. And certainly by starting to put that in place in terms of sending that information through and doing the process now between now and the end of January for any of your clients that you haven't yet done the tax returns for, you can start to drop into that element of education to say that, you know, most of our clients or all of our clients do it in this way, and you know, we're chasing the information from you, or we're still requesting the information because we want to be able to get the information back to you so that we can give you any opportunity, at least if you need to put the tax aside, you know, so you're not getting told on the 30th of January or the 31st of January this is what needs to be paid. And similarly to that, the education then is to say what we'd love to do for next year is to put you onto our new system, if it isn't a current system that either they play ball with, if you like, or that they sort of adhere to, is to say we'll put you onto our new system for next year, and that will start in February, and we'll look at ideas pre the end of the tax year so that you can try and take action before it's too late, to try and minimize any exposure, if you like, or any kind of taxes that you may be applicable to. And then also, if we can get your information in by this date, it means then that we can provide you with more time to be able to know what your tax liabilities are going to be in the following January and July. One other thing as well that we tend to use as well, I suppose, to our advantage, to try and get information in a little bit quicker off clients, particularly if they've got payments on account, is to say if you can get us the information in before July, you know, we can then check to see whether that payment on account that's due in July might need to change. So again, that might give them an incentive often to kind of get information into us if they feel that actually, yeah, I think circumstances have changed a little bit this year, so that might have an impact on what that payment on account in July is likely to be. So again, just a few ways really, just to try and use the tax return season as an opportunity to improve on the client communication, improve on the client service, generate potential opportunities for you to be able to generate work for yourself, or generate introductions to other professionals, which hopefully might generate referrals back to you as well. Certainly will generate a happy client, but also looking at it to try and educate them, to try and say, actually, this is the way we want to do things, or this is the way we normally do things, and this is why we're doing it this way. We're doing it, we want information in earlier, not just to be a pain and to cause you more stress to get information into us earlier than you think you need to or want to. But actually, by doing that means that we can provide a far more proactive and far more full service back to you, so that you can plan effectively and you can manage your tax situation that bit better as well. Any other questions or comments at all from anyone?
I just wanted to add a couple of comments. Oh, you've picked up on some great stuff today, Alan.
I lost myself in the knowledge base for a good few days actually trying to find those things.
So much stuff, and I hadn't thought before of using Taxability as part of the tax tips document. That's a really, really great idea. I hadn't thought about that at all. The only thing that you did you pulled it up really, really quickly, but I would ask people to go back and look at is that those service request sheets around the tax returns, because I think again it's really important to be able to talk to clients about having different packages for tax. It's not just a one size fits all. Everybody is unique in their own tax work, and also people want different levels of reassurance and confidence about things. So you did pick up on them, and that was great. But I think if people wouldn't mind looking at that, and thinking about that, because that's where, you can use Times Up to just go through that very quickly. But again, bringing in back the value of what you do. And I think whatever pricing tool you use, you need to be really clear about the tax return is not just a simple job for anybody these days, is it? There's all sorts. So it's important that. And again, the other thing that I really loved was that you talked about paying on account. And we have a member whose strapline is making tax irrelevant. And the reason that he's saying that is because of exactly what you just said, is that what he does is he gets his clients to pay their tax on account every month, and then he reviews it once a quarter and says, okay, yeah, you need to add a little bit more in the next few months, or you can drop it down. And for that takes away a massive worry for a lot of people, doesn't it? They're going to face a big bill and have to find this money from somewhere. And like you said, being able to talk about tax planning, being able to have different points in the year where you communicate, not just at tax return season, gives you that opportunity to perhaps just reassure them and for them to plan better for their finances. And that's where the value comes in, isn't it? That you've helped them prepare for these things. So thank you for that. It's brilliant.
Brilliant. No, I think as well with that, Emma, just probably that particular client then is probably already ready for MTD for the income tax when that comes in based on that as well. So yeah, really clever way of doing it really. And more and more now, I think we're getting questions off clients to say, can I pay this tax monthly? So that because they want to start budgeting for it. And I think that's the way the world has gone is onto this subscription monthly payment model. So yeah, if they can pay the tax monthly as well, and then you monitor that as Emma says that other member does, fantastic. And I think as I say, he's miles ahead from an MTD. It's a perspective, I think, as well as a result.
Because that's going to come quicker than we think, isn't it? That's the thing. Everyone thinks, oh yeah, I got a couple of years for that, but it's amazing how quickly it'll hit. And again, if you've got a lot of clients, the sooner we get that moving, the better, really. So it's not a big job for us as accountants to manage that.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I'm sorry, I've just hogged Alan for a minute there. Has anybody got any questions before we finish? So Libby's put yes. Yes, I will have the video will be going up at the end of today. It'll go on our YouTube channel, AVN Inspiring Accountants. Yeah, Libby, well done. It's good encouraging people to do that. And also for companies, it reduces their year-end liabilities. So people can figure out the scale of their business on companies' house accounts. Brilliant. Yeah, thank you, Alan. I think there is lots, and I'm sure they will be, people who are here will be going on back and watching this, but I will also be telling the rest of the membership who've missed it to go and watch it, because so many things you brought and so many great ideas. Thank you very much. It's really
no problem. Yeah, it was almost trying to see which ones to leave out as opposed to which ones to put in there, unfortunately. But yeah, the 3-star, 4-star, 5-star, which they did sort of gloss over those, but I think those resources really are a really good way of actually sharing with client. Well, actually, you're only on the 3-star service. That's why you haven't got this, or that's why you don't do this for you. If you wanted us to, we can upgrade you to the 4 or 5-star. And it does keep people very clearly what's involved, what they're paying for, and what their value is that they're going to get as a result.
Libby's just thanked you for today, and also for your presentation last week, which was on the Thursday. Was it on the Thursday webinar last week?
I did the Thursday the week before for AVN, and I was at the digital accountancy show last week. So I think that's the one Libby's talking about.
Brilliant. So well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and the one that Alan did for us on the Thursday, that's up on the AVN Know-How Hub, so you can go and rewatch that if you missed that too.
Yeah, if you haven't had enough of me, then yeah, there's another video to watch.
Well, it's always good to learn from others who are doing it, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's the important thing. Brilliant. Thank you, everybody. If you haven't got any more questions, I'd like to thank Alan. Thank you very much. It's been lovely to have somebody else share their knowledge and skills. And next week, software. So if there's any piece of software you want me to cover specifically, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to pick something. So I'm doing potluck for you. So if there is anything, drop me an email. Everybody's got my email address, I think. It's just emma.slack@avn.co.uk. If you want me to cover any particular piece of software next week, that would be great. So thank you again, Alan. Lovely to see you. And hope we see the rest of you again next week. Take care.
Alan. Thanks,
Thanks
Emma.
a lot.
Yes, thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.